All right, so we're going deep today, like way past just Tantra 101.
Sounds intense.
It is. We're talking about Osho.
Ah, Osho. Very cool. Very controversial.
Exactly. He was this mystic who had, well, a really unique take on Tantra.
A unique take. Yeah.
Less like the traditional teachings and more like, I don't know, imagine knowing how to make a basic margarita.
Okay. I like where this is going. Classic margarita. Got it.
But then you get to try one made by like a rock star mixologist. Same base ingredients, but
Elevated.
right.
Totally different experience.
You got it. That's what we're doing with Osho's perspective on Tantra.
Cool. And just a heads up, we're focusing on his lens, not traditional Tantra as a whole.
Right. Important distinction.
Mm.
And fair warning to our listeners, his take includes some unexpected things. Nothingness, spontaneity.
Oh, yeah. Big on those. And he even found a kind of perfection in things that seem imperfect.
Okay, see, that's what's so interesting about Osho.
Hmm.
But before we get too far, there's something I've always struggled with. How do you even put mystical experiences into words?
Yeah. That's a tough one.
Like, you have this incredible moment connecting with nature, or you feel this deep sense of awe. But when you try to explain it...
The words just don't cut it.
Exactly. Did Osho talk about that at all?
Oh, absolutely. He believed language has limitations, especially for these peak experiences.
It's like trying to describe a dream that felt more real than reality.
Perfect example. In fact, Osho even tells a story about this.
Ooh, story time.
It was when he was young. He'd spend hours just sitting by a river, completely absorbed.
Sounds peaceful. I bet his mom wasn't too thrilled, though.
You're right, probably not. She asks him, "What were you doing all that time?" And he could only answer, "Nothing."
Classic mom response, probably. Don't give me that nothing stuff.
Yeah, right. Logically, she knew he was doing something. But for Osho, it highlighted how words couldn't express the essence of that experience.
It's like, have you ever looked up at the night sky and just felt this overwhelming, I don't even know, it's beyond words.
Exactly. And Osho takes this idea a step further. It's not just about describing those states. It shapes how we approach Tantra. He saw it as a path of direct experience.
Not something you read in a textbook.
Exactly. You can't just learn Osho's Tantra from a book. You have to experience it.
Okay, so less theory, more diving head first.
Yeah.
That's definitely different from how many spiritual paths are presenting.
Very different. And that's because Osho's Tantra is a radical yes to everything in existence.
Everything.
Everything. The good stuff, the tough stuff, the pleasure and the pain. It's about total acceptance, almost the opposite of paths that are about denial or renunciation.
Wow, that's a big difference. I remember reading that Osho saw those denial-focused paths as being driven by the ego. It's like we're trying to control life instead of living it.
Right. To illustrate this, he talks about Aurangzeb. He was a Mughal emperor.
Oh yeah, the one who imprisoned his own father.
Yep, Shah Jahan, the guy who built the Taj Mahal. Now, Aurangzeb gave his dad every luxury imaginable. But Shah Jahan was miserable. He couldn't do anything. He was completely cut off from the world.
So even though it looked fancy, it wasn't really living. We need to be involved to engage with the world.
Exactly. Osho believed that trying to suppress our natural urges like anger or even sexual desire doesn't actually work.
You're saying it doesn't make them disappear?
Nope. It just creates this inner conflict, like you're fighting yourself.
So if I'm understanding this right, instead of denying these feelings, Osho's approach is to...
say yes to them.
Interesting. But wouldn't that mean, like, if I'm angry, I just explode all the time?
No, it's not about letting those urges run wild. It's about acknowledging them without judgment. It's about understanding they're part of being human. And he believed that fighting these urges actually blocks energy, and then that energy, that flow, is really important in his Tantra.
Okay, so how do we work with these urges then?
Osho would say we need to become more like water.
Ooh, I love the water analogy.
Right. It takes the shape of whatever container it's in, but it doesn't lose its essential nature. That's what Osho meant by being loose and natural.
Adaptable, like water. I get it.
Exactly. He saw rigidity and clinging to expectations as huge obstacles. He actually tells this hilarious Sufi story about this.
Oh, do tell.
It's about an old man, his son, and a donkey. No matter what they do, someone always criticizes them.
Oh, I think I've heard this one.
Yeah.
They try riding the donkey together, people complain. They try walking alongside it, more complaints.
Exactly. It's a funny way to show how much external pressure can mess you up.
You end up twisting yourself in knots just trying to please everyone else. But then, who are you even being true to? I feel like this ties into what we were talking about before with duality.
Oh, absolutely.
Osho talked a lot about transcending duality.
Yeah.
going beyond that black and white thinking, like good versus bad, beautiful versus ugly.
Yeah, it's about seeing the bigger picture. We get so stuck in labels and judgment that we miss the whole point, and we miss the beauty in those imperfections.
Yeah, like we're constantly comparing ourselves to some ideal that doesn't even exist.
Hmm.
Didn't Osho tell a story about a guy who was fixated on his wife's nose?
He did. The guy thought her nose was, like, totally messed up.
Ouch. I feel that.
Yeah, and it completely consumed him. He couldn't see her beauty, her spirit, just this nose.
And that's how we get trapped, right? We focus on these perceived flaws, these little imperfections, instead of seeing the whole person.
Or the whole anything, really. It applies to ourselves, too, not just relationships.
Big time. So how do we break free from that trap? Osho talked about witnessing, didn't he?
Witnessing is key. It's all about observing your thoughts and emotions without getting swept away.
Right, not getting caught up in them.
Exactly. You don't identify with them as you. It's like you become this impartial observer of your own mind.
I get the concept, but in practice, it's easy to say just observe your thoughts. But when you're in the heat of the moment, like super angry or anxious.
It's tough, for sure. It takes practice.
Okay, so how do we practice witnessing?
Think of it like building a muscle. It feels weird at first, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. Osho had this great analogy.
I love a good analogy. Hit me.
He said it's like watching clouds. You see them, you know they're there, but you don't try to grab onto them or change them. You just watch them drift by.
Okay. So instead of getting lost in my thoughts and emotions, I can try to witness them from a more detached place.
Exactly. And from that detached place, you can start to see the stories your mind is telling you. Instead of saying, I am angry, you notice there's anger here.
Subtle, but powerful. It creates a little bit of space.
And in that space, you have a choice. You can choose how to respond instead of just reacting.
This is making more sense now. But is there a risk of becoming too passive? Like if I'm just observing all the time?
Right. Like, do I lose my passion, my drive?
Yeah, exactly.
It's not about suppressing emotions. It's about recognizing they come and go. Osho called this deeper awareness the unborn realm.
Unborn, like pre-emotion.
Kind of. It's the awareness that's always there underneath all the thoughts and feelings, the part of you that stays calm even when everything else is chaotic.
I like that. So it's like accessing this inner peace that's always there, even when life gets crazy.
Yes. And Osho had this practice called Ladan to help people experience the unborn realm.
Ladan? I don't think I've heard of that one.
It's pretty wild. You basically become like this hollow bamboo, allowing energy to flow through you from the sky to the earth.
Wait, actual energy, like force fields and stuff?
Not quite. Think of it as the life force energy that's everywhere. Osho believed we're all conduits for this energy, and Ladan is a way to tap into it.
Okay, walk me through this. What do you do during Ladan?
You stand with your eyes closed, relaxed but alert. Imagine you're that hollow bamboo, open and receptive. And then you visualize energy flowing down from above, like right into your head, filling you up.
And then I just stand there like a lightning rod.
Then you let your body move.
Move how?
However the energy wants you to. It could be shaking, trembling, swaying. It's not you controlling it.
So it's kind of like a dance, but choreographed by the universe.
Exactly. And then, as the energy builds, you kneel down and touch your forehead to the ground. You visualize the energy flowing down out of you into the earth.
Like a cycle, right? Receiving and releasing.
Yes. You repeat this a few times, and it's supposed to, like, break down the illusion of separation between you and everything else.
Whoa. That sounds intense.
It can be. Osho recommended doing it with a guide, someone who can help you navigate the experience. Which brings us to another important part of his Tantra, the role of a master.
Right. He wasn't talking about a guru who tells you what to do, right?
No, not at all. He saw a master as a catalyst, someone who helps you bridge the gap between intellectual understanding and actual experience.
Like a mentor who helps you unlock your own potential.
Exactly. He also believed a true master encourages you to question things, to think critically, to explore on your own.
They don't want blind followers.
Nope, they want fellow travelers, people who are also on the path of awakening.
So how do you find a real master? Like, there's so many people out there calling themselves gurus.
It's tricky. Osho said to pay attention to their energy, to their presence. Do they walk their talk?
Goes to your gut.
Yeah, basically. He also said to be wary of anyone promising quick fixes or magical solutions.
Right. Real growth takes time.
It does. And according to Osho, it shouldn't be all serious and somber. He believed that laughter, playfulness, even celebration were important too.
So find the joy in the journey.
Exactly. He saw life as this cosmic dance, and he wanted people to experience it with a sense of wonder, with a twinkle in their eye.
I love that. So after all this talk about energy and masters and witnessing, any simple takeaways for our listeners? Something they can try at home?
Definitely. Osho believed even a simple practice could be super powerful. One thing he recommended was watching the breath.
Just watching your breath.
Yeah. Find a comfy position, close your eyes, and just observe your breath as it goes in and out.
No fancy techniques or mantras?
Nope. Just notice the sensations. If thoughts pop up, acknowledge them and go back to the breath, no judgment.
Sounds simple, but I bet it's harder than it seems.
It can be, but even a few minutes of this can help you feel calmer.
Like a mini meditation.
Exactly. And as you get more comfortable, you can start witnessing other things too. Your thoughts and emotions throughout the day, how you react to situations.
Just observe.
Exactly. The more you do it, the more natural it becomes. And if you want to learn more, we've got some extra resources in the show notes.
Perfect. But before we wrap up this deep dive on Osho, there's one thing that really stands out to me. I mean, his whole approach to Tantra is unique, even a little controversial.
Yeah, it's definitely not your typical meditation retreat.
Exactly. And the thing that keeps coming back to me is how he talked about enlightenment, like reaching that state of awakening. It felt so accessible.
He really made it feel that way, like it wasn't this distant goal for monks and mystics.
Right. He believed we all have that potential, just waiting to be unlocked.
Exactly. He used a great analogy about a house that's been shut up for 100 years, completely dark inside. You don't need to sweep out the darkness bit by bit.
You just need one candle to illuminate the whole space.
Exactly. That's what a moment of true awareness can do, according to Osho.
Okay, that's beautiful, but it also makes me wonder, if it's already there, why bother doing all this work? What's the point of all these practices?
Because most of us are walking around with, like, a metaphorical blindfold on. We don't even see that the light is already there.
So the witnessing, the lakahen, all of that is
That's
about...
taking off the blindfold. It's about remembering who we truly are.
So it's not about becoming enlightened. It's about realizing we already are.
Exactly. And this isn't some kind of passive, blissful state where you just float away. Osho saw it as a way to be more engaged with the world, not less. Because you're free from those limitations the ego creates.
It's not about escaping life, but experiencing it fully. With more awareness, more joy, and maybe even more love.
Yes, that's the heart of it. Osho's Tantra is all about saying yes to everything. The light, the shadow, the good, the bad. It's about finding that spark of the divine in everything.
Even the things we might normally label as imperfect.
Especially those things. It's like putting on a new pair of glasses that help you see the world in a completely different way.
That's a great way to put it. And isn't that what Tantra is all about? Transformation.
Absolutely. And it starts from within. By changing our inner world, we start to see the outer world differently.
We become more compassionate, more understanding, more connected to everything around us. Wow, this has been quite a deep dive. Osho's perspective is definitely challenging, but it's also really inspiring.
I know, right? It makes you want to throw out the rule book and just embrace life.
Embrace the wildness of it all.
Exactly.
Well, folks, what do you think? Are you ready to say yes to it all? Let us know your thoughts on Osho, his teachings, or anything that's sparking your curiosity in the comments below. We always love hearing from you.
And if you're enjoying these deep dives into Tantra, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to Tantra Quest for even more explorations.
Until next time, keep seeking, keep exploring, and keep embracing that wild dance of life.